It's devastating when you dump your life savings into something.
Garrett Henning thought he was buying his dream home when he spent more than $330,000 for this piece of property in Conroe. Months later, he's learning he's been had, and his neighbors, they're being victimized too.
And so I'm afraid it's going to have serious flooding implications for all of this neighborhood.
Look next door to the folks who live in Carriage Hills. A new neighborhood is being dug out. Look at the roads, construction equipment bringing in tons of silt. The new neighborhood, it's called River's Edge. But wait a minute. The Montgomery County Commissioners haven't even approved a preliminary application for a new neighborhood to be there.
Know what I mean? Know what I mean? Nuts, know what I mean? Say no more.
And the politicians, they've done nothing while the neighbors to River's Edge are clearly getting flooded by the new neighborhood, including Garrett Henning. No doubt in your mind, this new, maybe neighborhood is already causing flooding.
Oh, for sure. When you build up land to that extent, that's 3 foot of dirt brought in. Where's the water going?
The county commissioner elected to protect the neighborhood is Charlie Riley, who hasn't returned our phone calls ever. So it's time to call out the way Montgomery County is controlling new development. Pardon our French, but it's ass backwards.
But when you get down into the roots of it, it's shocking what's actually going on.
Do you think the county and the city are sort of selling out to developers?
It seems like they are.
For the Montgomery County officials who don't believe me, need proof something is terribly wrong, here it is, video shot by a Carriage Hills resident.
Their drainage is entering our neighborhood and basically flooding my front yard. It's just a huge mess.
But hey, why worry? Just listen to the reassuring voice of the Montgomery County engineer.
Do you believe that's enough to ensure that these subdivisions are not going to increase the flooding to their neighbors?
I don't know.
We called Jeff Johnson to find out how they could possibly approve drainage plans that are obviously causing dangerous drainage problems already.
This one guy called me, I forget his name, and we looked into it, and Dan said everything's, up to snuff.
So Garrett Henning and his neighbors complained to the TCEQ.
I don't think it's right that without any approval or thought for anybody else's property that they can dump a bunch of water and ruin somebody else's stuff.
The TCEQ report should have woken someone up in Conroe, but it hasn't. Violations against Academy Development, the folks developing River's Edge. Failure to remove accumulations of sediment often enough to minimize further negative effects. Failure to maintain best management practices. That's good news. Look, I'm no engineer, but it's obvious what's going on. We shouldn't need pictures from the TCEQ because we can see it with our own eyes.
Once they start putting concrete slabs, roofs, driveways, the impermeable ground it's just going to get worse.
But this tale of government failure runs much deeper. Right now, there's not even a road going to this still unapproved neighborhood. But the politicians in Conroe have already fixed that. Old Conroe Road will connect to River's Edge, and the decision how the road gets there is another example of good old secrecy up in Conroe.
Preliminary assessments of potential environmental impacts of the project have been conducted in order to identify environmental constraints.
October 16, 2019, TxDOT wanted to show all feasible alternatives to the public, because you got a right to see it. But months later, the city of Conroe decided to just tell you where they want to put the road. It was going to go near the FBI police gun range, but the police chief didn't like that idea, so guess what? It was changed.
And we've never had a really adequate explanation of why they have to route the road where they want to route it.
And it's now going to cut Garrett Henning's property in half. His neighbors, too.
It's shocking. I just got hit broadside.
Welcome to the neighborhood, Garrett. We're gonna flood you, unnecessarily take your property, and guess what? It's going to include a bridge that could have been moved to property not far from there where no one lives.
But yet they decided to run them right across the middle of our properties.
TxDOT warned the road that's being built is being built with bare minimum standards. The engineering firm LJA responded, "It's the money." LJA is the engineering firm working with TxDOT on the old Conroe Road project. They're also the engineering firm for the developer of River's Edge. They're also the engineering firm for the city of Conroe, and they do work for Montgomery County. Conflict of interest, anyone? It was LJA who said the River's Edge subdivision wouldn't do what it's clearly doing. Quoting, "Runoff from the developed site into the neighboring subdivision to the east is less than existing conditions." Really? Tell that doozy to the folks in Carriage Hills. LJA has already been sued by residents of Timurin Park in the Woodlands for poor flood mitigation. LJA was blamed for the flooding in Elm Grove Village. After they flooded, they were told it wasn't bad engineering, it was an act of God. Documents even show the city directed LJA to extend Old Conroe Road below the elevation recommended by TxDOT. Quoting, "The city doesn't want the facility," that's road in English, "designated as a hurricane evacuation route." That's a head scratcher. Don't we want lots of ways to get out from areas that flood a lot? But look, just add it to the list of stuff that doesn't make sense here unless the politicians up in Montgomery County just want to look the other way. Isn't that sort of the golden rule? Nothing we do should hurt our neighbors.
Well, yes, you're absolutely correct. I'm not sure they care.
From the air, Bob Rehak of ReduceFlooding.com has seen the damage the still unapproved River's Edge neighborhood is already doing to the folks in Carriage Hills.
And it flows on to adjoining properties. You know, that's a clear violation of the Texas Water Code, Chapter 11.02, I think it is. You know, thou shalt not flood your neighbor.
Maybe Commissioners Riley and the other county politicians should mosey out to visit Carriage Hills. They can wear their masks. And when they're there, just imagine how they would feel if the government did to them what they're now doing to these folks. We're going to fight with them.
I mean, that's my family's life savings to buy a piece of property that we want to build a future home and raise our family on.